This is one of the 351 rack centers spread across Oyo State, and currently we are at Government Secondary School Adeshola in Orita Akperi. Orita Akperi falls under Ibadan Southeast local government area, and as you can see behind me, activities are on. More sensitization is being given to the ad hoc staff by the electoral officers of what is expected of them tomorrow morning, how they're supposed to conduct themselves, how to protect the card reader, and how to make it work well. I'm here with the resident electoral commissioner in Oyo State, Barrister Pt.2 Agboke, who will be telling us more about what exactly these rack centers are doing and what should the people expect from here on. We have seen about 2 or 3 rack centers so far, and what exactly is expected from the centers?
Yes, one of the things that we should expect is what we met them doing when we came in. One, it is meant to refresh the memory of our ad hoc staff, of some of the things we have taught them during the training. Secondly, this is a camp. We make it a camp so that between here and the polling unit, we can have flow of movement of our materials. Our determination of INEC is to ensure that poll opens by 8 a.m. But we don't want to take a risk of a situation whereby we have to deploy materials directly from the local government to the polling unit. So what we have done now is to simplify it, bring it down to various levels, and that is why we created registration area centers. These are the centers that will accommodate, ad hoc staff, all the non-sensitive materials, all sensitive materials, all security personnel. As I speak to you, you have seen the various security personnel on ground. You have seen our vehicles on ground. So the issue of logistics will not be an issue tomorrow morning. You have seen our ad hoc staff in the classroom. You have seen them taking themselves through the rudiment and nitty-gritty of smart card reader. So these are the rationale of RAC. And the RAC has come to stay in our electoral process, and with the introduction of RAC, it has made it easy for us to reach the polling unit early enough on the day of the poll.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, my pleasure.
Well, you have heard it from the REC himself, and we'll still monitor more RAC centers as time goes on. But one clear indication that I could draw from this is the synergy between the security agencies and INEC appears really strong. The AIG in charge of Zone 11 was here earlier on, and he did promise that his men will be up to the task. And we can see a heavy presence of security all around the places that we have visited, and I think this will continue until the very early hours of the morning, when these election materials will be distributed to various polling centers across the state. From the Southeast local government here in Ibadan, Bukola Ariowo, Channels Television News.
Less than 6 hours to the polls, and we're talking about the prevalent issues as we head to the polls. Don't forget, join the conversation using the hashtag 2019 elections. You can also use the hashtag the verdict. You can also send us an email at theverdict@channelstv.com. I still have in the studio my colleagues Charles Eruka. I have here Ayotunde Balogun. We have a regular customer, so to speak, Mr. GT Ogunye. Thank you for staying with us. And we also have Mr. Ikemesit Efyong, who is a communications professional. Before we went on a break, a few breaks ago, we began discussing a particular topic, the relationship between vote buying, which is gradually becoming an industry in Nigeria. We hope it doesn't become full-blown, and poverty. You started with a line of thought, and I would like you to complete that.
Yes, so I prefaced my initial comments within the context in which Mr. Ogunye had said, and I brought in the issue of wider voter education, and I was saying that the current understanding, first mirrored by INEC, and then the vast majority of the electorate working with the cues that INEC provides, right, have come to appreciate and understand voter education is in the narrow sense of dealing with the mechanics of voting. So on a day like this, election day, going out, how to thumbprint, what not to bring to the polling booth, how to conduct yourselves, and all of that, and being conscious, obviously, about the presence or otherwise of security agencies trying to secure your, to ensure the security of your votes after you've casted your ballot, you know, when the polls close around 2 p.m. and counting, of course. That deals essentially with just the mechanics of on election day. But voter education is far more encompassing than that, yes. So when we've had a situation where we have spent a larger portion of our independence experience, right, under military rule, we are just getting into more democratic habits, like I like to call it, in terms of... Indeed, in terms of how we understand and appreciate the issues, how we try to secure accountability from elected officials. And you have a situation where not only the operators in the system, the politicians, have either come of age in the military era or were in cahoots with the military, or in some cases were retired military officers, right? You also have a situation where a significant amount of the voting population was born, grew up, and formed their political frame of thinking within the military era. And so what we need to start doing, and INEC needs to pay attention to this. I was discussing in the green room with Mr. GT, when you look at Section 2 of the Electoral Act, the INEC's first function is voter education, right? It's election management happens once every 4 years. Voter education should be all-encompassing. And in that gap that has existed before now, you've got civil society groups, you've got folks like Budget and Enough is Enough Nigeria and a lot of the other donor foundations that are addressing the issues of civic participation, right, and open governance. They have tried to do work in that space, but the thing is, when there is a gap that exists as a result of governance, only government in the end can take care of that. And so we need to get to a situation where people need to understand that you can recall your senator, you can request for a town hall meeting, you can write, you can call, you can engage with.
Let me quickly put this in.
Indeed.
We realized that a lot of people got into the ring when it came to voter education in this dispensation. Sometimes it's difficult to help a man or to step in to help a man who seems to be doing his job effectively. Now, I want you to tell me, would you say the fact that a lot of people, civil society, individuals, got on the internet to participate in voter education, was it a good thing that people did that, or did that make INEC look bad, that it didn't perform that role effectively?
I think we should worry less about who looks bad and who looks good. The point is, fundamentally, a gap existed and something had to be done. So people needed to understand that being a democracy transcends having the ability to choose your leaders. What do your leaders do in the intervening period? How do you ensure and secure accountability from the people that you have put in office? If we essentially distill democracy to this mechanical practice where we show up every 4 years and then we choose a new set of leaders, it takes away the vitality from, you know, governance. It takes out the vitality from us embarking on this democratic experiment. You have a situation where a lot of Nigerians essentially look at governance, as it were, and it's a mix between apathy and despondency, as it were. But real voter education has to get to the point where Nigerians begin to understand that we can speak with a louder voice and ask our leaders,
and not have to wait
what
like
have you done in that time? And not have to wait like every election cycle. And then when people bring up promises and you decide to weigh the merit or otherwise of those promises, you begin to speak about it. You can speak in 2020 and 2021 and 2022 in the lead up to 2023. That's how real democracies work. If you look at all of the established democracies out there, that is how they keep politicians on their toes. And I think INEC first, in partnership with the CSOs and also the mass media, and I think the media in Nigeria has done a spectacular job, considering the circumstances, in trying to ensure that Nigerians are not only accurately informed, especially in the era of fake news and disinformation and rumors, but also in terms of shining a spotlight and also giving Nigerians a picture of what things can be by mirroring practices around the world. And so people can say, oh, okay, if a country in Western Europe or a country in East Asia also claims to be a democracy like we were, and they're doing that, why can't it happen here? You know, and so that's the conversation I think post-election we need to start having, and INEC really needs to take the lead on that.
All right, thank you very kindly. Any questions regarding this conversation?
Well, you know, I wanted Mr. F. Young to respond specifically to, you know, he talked about voter education anyway, but then it's about addressing the issue of prevalent poverty in the country and, of course, how that has actually encouraged people selling their destinies for a morsel of bread.
Look,
voter education.
Let me just
on that.
Let me just keep this in. Look, I don't want the victims to be pilloried and condemned as the predators. Nigerians are good people. And so we can go down memory lane. In this country, ordinary people, farmers, peasants, had a sense of what electoral justice was. And so when politicians of old in Western region, in the Second Republic, were stealing votes and all that, they were the ones who were dealing with those politicians. Particularly when the rigging or the malfeasance was coming from the party in power that are all the apparatus of question. It happened in Ondo State in 1983. So the point is that how was it that those people then, or at least their parents, who felt outraged at electoral injustice, now are the ones who are, you know, enmeshed in vote selling of their conscience and all that. The point I'm making is that this introduction of vote buying came from politicians. They were the ones who induced, indeed, encouraged the electorate to buy into it. It wasn't the electorate that was doing it first. They were the ones providing the money. And that's why I'm talking about, when I talked about every society that has succeeded lightly, you know, every democratic society has succeeded on the basis of the rule of law. You must be able to enforce the law. I spoke about a deficiency earlier, that every election cycle, and I talked about electoral offenders. Nobody gets punished. Nobody is arraigned in court. The last time under Jega, you know, there was a tepid attempt that was made. Lawyers were even encouraged. They went to Abuja. Yes, they were going to start prosecuting. Nobody was prosecuted at the end of the day. And I'm telling you that even in this cycle, if care is not taken, they won't prosecute anybody. So when you don't prosecute offenders, you implant and entrench a culture of impunity. And it can happen and happen and happen again. So the idea of vote and cook a pot of soup, you know, those say, Diboko Sebe, in Ekiti State and all that. I say, these are the politicians doing this. In the last Ekiti election, let's be fair.